Hello everyone, welcome Drumfills Kafé. My name is Denis and welcome to the last English episode of this 5th season. As you can see, we are not Zoom to Zoom, but I am here with my buddy Dave, and of course we are at Dave's drum shop here in beautiful Ottawa. Yes, Ottawa is beautiful, trust me. That makes
Yes.
Dave laugh. It is beautiful.
It is. Not today, maybe.
So, very fortunate. Thank you so much, Dave, for having us at your drum shop. And basically today it's going to be a bit different. I'm basically going to do the same thing we usually do, but we're going to have the added bonus of basically actually seeing the shop, seeing some very cool vintage stuff and some new stuff, and just talk drums. Why not?
Why not?
With Dave for about a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes. If
Perfect.
That's cool. So let us begin. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Also, I implore you to go check out drumfillscafe.com, the website, to know about the past seasons, and of course this season just passed, and of course to go check out the Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages of Drumfills Kafé. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dave Dudley.
Hello, everybody. Hey, how are you?
So thank you so much for having us. This is pretty special. I've been looking forward to coming to the drum shop. I've heard so many things. Like I said, the last time I think I was here, you weren't here.
Right.
Where are we now exactly at the location?
I am 270 Catherine Street, so we're in Centertown in Ottawa, so that's downtown Ottawa. Very easy to get to. Even from Montreal, it's easy to get to because we're right off the highway.
Yes, that's how I got here.
Yeah. And I moved from a space a couple blocks away that was called on Gladstone Avenue. That was 4 years ago. And that was 800 square feet. And this now, I moved into it. It was 2,500 square feet. And then I doubled it last year during the pandemic. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We're going to show you guys, of course, the drum shop later. It's quite huge. I'm trying as hell to not buy anything today.
I'm trying to sell him something.
I'm trying to resist, but there's so much cool stuff. I can't wait to show you. So let's start from the beginning. So, of course, like you just said, you moved here a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. So how long has Dave Drum Shop existed?
So I've been my own shop for 14 years.
Cool.
And I moved here 4 years ago. So I was 10 years in the little shop and now 4 years.
4 years now. So 2007.
Yes,
2007.
That's right. During the that was the recession, whatever that was.
That's true.
Yeah. It was no place to go but up.
It can get worse.
Yeah, that's right. So.
But before that, you were at Songbird. If I'm correct.
So,
you were selling stuff at Songbird.
Yeah, Songbird. It was an Ottawa and Toronto institution for years and years, and it was a used music shop, and it did mainly used stuff. And I started there in I think it probably 88 or 89.
Really? Wow.
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
I mean, this is all I have ever done as a job.
Okay.
For the most part.
Right.
I had some other jobs before that, but pretty much since then, this is what I've done. And so Songbird lasted until my shop opened.
It's not still existing, or
no? Songbird closed. So what happened with Songbird? It had some issues where the owner he had to close the business.
Okay.
It's complicated and it's not worth discussing. But so it gave me the opportunity to open up my own drum shop. And when it was Songbird, I had my own little store as part of Songbird. So there was a guitar store. There were two little houses. So the guitar store was next door, which was the original store, and then we expanded into a store next door, which became the drum department. And so I had my own little shop.
Right.
And so when Songbird closed, the name changed. And when I was kind of given my notice from the owner of Songbird, he said, sorry, thanks for your service, but I am no longer a store. And I thought, well, maybe I can do something else. Maybe I'll go to school and I'll learn something else. I was still relatively young. And had, that grand notion of doing that. But I wasn't really sold on the idea, but I'd already said that I'm not going to open up the drum shop. And then I'm on Kijiji because that's what I do, right? That back then, especially like 14, 15 years ago, you're still looking for stuff on Kijiji or whatever. And I saw this really cool vintage drum set. And it was there for like a week, and it hadn't sold, and I thought, well, that's really weird because it should sell, right? And it hadn't sold, so I phoned them up, and I went out and I looked at it, and I said, and I bought it, and it was like, so if you know your vintage drums, this was a Vistalite kit, and it was a Jelly Bean Vistalite kit, and it was covered in plastic, and it looked brand new. And it was
meaning like the wrapping was still around it.
Just like they had a plastic tarp on it, and it looked like it had not been played in years, right? And it had all the hardware, and it was it's very rare to see like a factory Vistalite Jelly Bean kit, and it's as far as I know, it came from a store, and they used them as demos for all the different colors, right? So it had the green floor tom, red, amber, and blue drums. I don't remember. I have pictures of it, but anyway, so I bought that kit, and then I came home and I thought, I really like doing this, so I'm gonna open up a drum shop. Like, why would I not? I did this. I know I was losing my job, and I bought this vintage drum kit, so I just continued. So we just worked out an arrangement where the leases just flipped over to the guitar shop that is now called Spaceman Music, and myself, which is Dave's Drum Shop. So,
Oh, wow.
So I was not gonna do it, and then one buying of a vintage drum kit made me decide I better do it.
It just grabbed you.
It was a sign.
It just grabbed you, says, come to the drum. Come to the drum side.
Come to the drum side. Yes.
I'm curious. Did you sell that drum kit, or you still?
I did eventually. Okay. Somebody in Kingston bought it. I believe he still has it if he's watching.
Hello.
I hope you're enjoying it still. It took me a long time to sell it.
Okay.
And what else was I going to say about that? I lost it.
About the Ludwig kit.
About the Ludwig kit, or just buying that drum, like getting started. It was just this sort of sign. So I kind of go on my instincts, I guess. Yeah.
Because most of us will go, I'll go to do a degree in whatever and do something else and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you follow your passion.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So how was the start? Like, did you have to just okay, now I have to do promotion, I have to build it in a certain way to make it a drum shop, or like how
it was? I mean, part of the story of me calling it Dave's Drum Shop is I wanted people to know, because people knew me because I'd been at Songbird for like 20 years at that point. Right.
Well, little story. Right. This guy, I believe, I can't verify, but sold me a Ludwig Superphonic from the 70s back in the day, and I still have that drum. I still have that snare today.
Good for you.
So thank you.
Some drummers aren't that smart, and they sell them.
No.
You're a very smart drummer.
No, a few times I took it to gigs, people were like, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "I can hear you clearly," and doing all this stuff to it. I was like, "Okay, this one's a keeper." So.
Yeah, that's good. Well,
but you were
warms
saying.
My heart. So when I started, I mean, the store was empty. It's really funny if I go and look at pictures. Like if you look around here, it's gigantic, and it's full of drums, right? And it's like, how did you operate? And it's like when I started, there was nothing in there, and so I called it Dave's Drum Shop because I wanted people to know that Dave from Songbird, who'd been at Songbird for 20 years, opened up the drum shop.
Makes sense, yeah.
Right? So it was kind of simple. I kind of regret it sometimes.
Oh, really?
Because, it's like...
It's like Monique's boutique or Monique's hair salon.
But you can't change it once you've done it. I think the Bare Naked Ladies had the same problem with their name. Is that they're sorry they named themselves that band, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean...
I don't want to speak for them, but...
But I mean, it does stick out because it does, Dave's Drum Shop. So immediately we know it's someone, it's you.
Yeah. And when I answer the phone and I say it's Dave, and they go, "Oh, I'm speaking to the owner," and it's like,
they're more excited.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah.
Because just a side note, before Dave, of course, was the drum shop owner, you were part of a band, called Furnace Face.
Yes. So
talk to me a bit about that experience, because this was an Ottawa band and they did quite well, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the whole thing of working in a music store and being in a band, right? You want to be in a band, you want to go on tour. It's really hard to have a job, but you don't make any money when you're in a band for the most part, right? So it's when I started at Songbird, everybody that worked there, we all knew each other. We were all musicians playing in the same scene, and we were all the same young 20-somethings, right?
Right.
So it was just a normal thing, and we all played in bands, and we all went on tour. And you could go away for a month or 2 months and come back, and your job was still there. And so it just kind of, it was just that. And that was 10 years, basically.
Doing furniture face and the drum shop.
Working at the drum shop.
So it's a
building
nice,
the drum shop, really.
Yeah, it's a nice compliment to a working musician.
That's right. So, that's a very normal story for like a lot of musicians, right? Is you would work in the music store and they go, well, I got to go on tour. Oh, that's okay. Buddy's back from tour, so he'll fill your spot, right? And so we had a phenomenal time in the 90s because that was a really good time to be in a band.
Yes.
And you recorded in real studios, and you had videos you had to do, and you were on Much Music, and it was
and interview.
Really
there was support. Yep. There was places to play.
Lots of places to play. Yeah, and I always now that we talk about it, when I would tour the country, it'd be so hard to buy gear. Right, when you're at a drum shop,
right,
and or when you're like in a town and it's just like, where's the drum shop? And there is no drum shop. There's a music store down the street, and it's like, well, I need like 6 or 8 pairs of drumsticks to get me through the next week.
Exactly.
And it's like, we got 1 pair. That's right. And so I always kind of, when people ask me about different sticks and stuff, there's a lot of options. I always kind of gear them towards, like, if they're going to play a lot, you got to pick a stick that you're going to be able to find.
Yeah.
Right? So get comfortable with like a 5A, or a 5B from a brand that you recognize. So, all of that experience playing in a band and touring really informs my choices about what is a good thing to play. That's what you'll hear from me. I'm pretty repetitive when it comes to that sort of stuff. I like all the different sticks, and it's fun to have them, but it's like, if you're going to play, unless you've got some sort of endorsement where they mail you sticks constantly or whatever. Right. It's a lot different now too. Back then it was very, very different. There was no internet to order from, right? So
we're kids. We're talking about the 90s here, so
yes, it was a great time, but there was no internet. That was very good. There was internet, but it was
you could do stuff and nobody knew about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Like jam in your garage when your parents weren't there, and all of a sudden the cops show up. For instance, just saying, sorry, Mom.
Why is the door broken?
What? Oh, sorry. Anyways, that's sort of a true story, but let's not go there. But yes, that is a good point, because I have touring myself, and I'm sure I've touring across country for 10 years or so. Yeah, you get to a place like, oh crap, like my snare or whatever is just broken. I need another snare. You got to find store X that's actually open when you figure out that's your, and get a snare for the night. And I can understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on. So quickly, as a drum shop owner, is it knowing the gear? Is it knowing the business? Is it knowing the clientele? Like, what is it that you need, or that you've discovered you need to have to be a good drum shop owner?
Yeah, a lot of it's just sort of instinct, right? Like about stuff. I take a lot of risks buying stuff to sell. Okay. Because I like it to be interesting all the time. I don't like it to be the same thing, all the time. And a lot of that has come from my background of selling used stuff for so long. It took me a very long time to get used to selling new stuff. Because new stuff, you buy one new item and you sell it, you can get another one. So it's like, oh, I might as well just buy 6 new items, because they all sell. Yeah. But when you buy and sell used stuff, it's like you get one at a time. So it's a very different mindset. So I'm very used to that. I don't know what's coming in the door next, so I'm very comfortable buying things that, like somebody. But I also know that, because I've seen a lot of weird stuff come through the store, when a supplier or a company or a drum manufacturer has something and they show it to me, and I go, well, I saw that 20 years ago. Like, it didn't sell then. It's not going to sell now. It's just dressed up differently, right? There's a lot of that happens. So, I just kind of, it's very instinctive for me. And if something, I don't really, kick myself if I buy something wrong and just, let it move on. So,
Right. Eventually, you think it will sell.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And because the world is so big now with the internet, you can always sell something in your store somewhere in the world. Somebody wants it.
Okay.
So it's very easy to get rid of stuff that way. Ideally, I don't have to do that because, I do have a good local customer base.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of my customers do tell me and things I've seen and they're interested in. I do buy a lot of stuff that people kind of want or
Okay.
ask me about.
Okay.
And if somebody asks me about stuff enough, I go, well, I better order that because everybody seems to want it.
Okay.
It took me a long time to get big fat snare drums in the store because at one point I thought, oh, that's just like that you can do that yourself. You can make it yourself or whatever. It's a very simple product. But then everybody wanted it. And then, they do a nice job and they promote it. And I think it's a great product and it doesn't break the bank. And, you can just buy it and get that sound very easily.
Well, I guess we'll show you later, of course,
Yes.
what it is. But it's something that you add to the snare.
Yeah, just a thing. Yeah, it's like a piece of plastic you put on your snare drum, sort of like a super duper E-ring.
Yeah.
Right.
It's used to have and put tape on it.
That's
and
right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm still old school. Like when people ask me about how do you practice quietly, I said just throw towels on your drums.
Yeah.
Right.
Go
Don't spend
Ringo.
$100 on practice pads. Just put towels on your drums.
Go
and
Ringo.
Buy a cymbal for $100.
So it's really instinct of your product, basically, is what you're saying. It's instinct of a product with the mix of what the clientele is seeking.
A little bit of everything. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't do a lot of kind of internet research for stuff. Like if people ask me about stuff, I'll kind of look it up and see it. And computer's right there. If somebody's asking me, I just look it up and I go, oh yeah, that thing, that's cool. Or
Right.
yeah, well, it's $800, but you sure you want
sure
that?
you want
And sometimes people do ask for stuff though, and you go, oh yeah, that's available. Do you know how much it is? No, I have no idea. Well, and then you tell them the price, and they go, ooh,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's very easy to do that. Yeah, have that conversation with the customer and look it up and discover things that way. But I'm not going to go. I don't always go on Instagram and go find all the new things because you could just spend your whole life sitting there.
No, exactly.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
Or just what's is it called Reverb or whatever it is the new thing
Just buy and sell.
Yeah, which
site. Yeah.
I've seen, and I won't name, but I've seen some named drummer sell his snare for a couple of $1,000s, and I mean in the 5 digits.
Yes, there's a lot of that. Celebrity drum
Sales.
sales.
And this was used at this recording or whatever, and I'm like, I love that drummer, but I wouldn't spend that much for
that drum.
Yeah. Because I could go to the store and buy it for $400
right.
with the same drum. It's just, yes, you've played it, but it's different. Well, let's talk about the gear because there's a lot.
All right.
You were talking about you just basically sort of answered it, but used gear is what got you in.
Yes.
Is used gear your the thing that sells the most? Is the thing that interests most your clientele? Like, what's the thing with used gear?
Yeah, I really tried to change that after I became my own drum shop, and because I want to be a drum shop. I don't care. Like if you look around, when you look around my store, people always go, "Where's the used stuff?" And I go, "Well, it's just in with the new stuff."
Yeah.
Right. The only difference is I keep used cymbals separate, just because it's really hard to kind of determine them. But drum sets and snares and stuff, it's all mixed together.
Yeah.
Because it's a drum shop and drums are drums. I do most of my business is new business.
Okay.
And part of that is just because it's very hard to get used stuff now. It's very it's very competitive. A lot of people buy it on whatever. I mean, half the time it comes to me, like if it's available on Facebook Marketplace, a lot of times somebody buys it on Facebook Marketplace and brings it in here to trade in or consign it or whatever.
Okay.
So I don't really feel like I miss out so much, whereas in the past you used to really have to kind of scour it to make sure you got all the stuff. The other problem I have with used stuff is it's like starter to mid-range stuff. If it needs new drum heads or a little bit of repair or anything, it's so expensive.
To just fix it up.
Putting new drum heads on a drum set's
Yeah, it's a couple $100.
Yeah, right. So it kind of makes it a bit difficult to do that, and that's where in Songbird in the beginning it was all just selling starter kits.
Okay.
And it was easy to kind of buy $2 heads and put them on and sell them.
But I do see some very kind of collector stuff here.
Yes.
So that's the part I'm trying to talk about is that you seem to collect a lot of like here you were like if you point out in the back here, just in the
all
back.
that stuff is. So I have this habit, and if you've seen my store develop over the years, you'll see a bunch of stuff that's vintage that is super nice that you would die for.
Yeah.
There's more stuff behind you too. But
we'll get that. We'll get that.
This is the Ludwig shelf here. So I will collect stuff, and I'll kind of get in a mode. So this is all like 20s, early 30s Ludwig snare drums. And they're all there's a couple Black Beauties up there, and a couple very rare ones, and then some that are just kind of, players, snares. But I kind of get that. And then after a few years, I'll go, well, I think I'll just sell these off now and I'll start again.
Okay.
At one point, I had drums from like the 20s, 30s. I'd have one of each, like a cool drum. And I did that. And then I saw, I always say when I'm tired of dusting them, I'll sell them.
because just I went on the website, and this is just like from this past March. Pearl Fiberglass 1970s kit.
Yeah.
A Rogers Londoner V New England White, which I don't know this one, but I want some more information about that one. A Trixon early 1950s.
Oh yeah.
And a Slingerland 14 Cloud Badge marching drum, I believe.
Oh, that's somewhere around here.
That's somewhere around here.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't your Westbury kit. This is kind of.
No, yeah, this is all. Yeah, it's all kind of unique and Rogers kits are very common around here from the early 70s. So,
okay.
That was, from what I understand, the stores carried them because a lot of stores, Rogers were owned by CBS at that point. So if you had Fender, you probably had a Rogers drum kit.
Okay.
Fender was very popular. And Ludwigs were very difficult to get because they were
here in
Ottawa specifically, for sure. I don't know, Toronto probably a little easier, but so there are a lot of guys had Rogers kits here. Because I think it was easier to obtain, although they cost more than buying a Ludwig at that point.
So I mean, what's the story behind these kits? Is it people that used to play and they go, oh, I don't have this kit in my basement, I don't use it anymore, or is it like people who find these things in the basement?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I mean, a lot of kits now that a lot of this stuff is 50 years old plus. It's very hard to find a one-owner drum kit.
Right.
So it's maybe on its second or third owner. And they change over the years. So, like if somebody's the original owner, sometimes they'll come in, they'll have the original heads on them and things, right? But,
okay.
If they're the second or third owner, things have been changed and something broke and they've replaced it. And at some point in history, over those 50 years, it wasn't easy to get replacement parts for your vintage kit. So they just put on whatever Tama thing they could find.
Okay.
So they get a bit sort of changed over the years.
But what's the story behind you acquiring these kits? Is it there's like any like these snares and these fiberglass and these Rogers? Like is there a story behind it, or is it
not
you
so
like
much.
kind of
most of it just comes in the store?
Really?
Yeah. A lot of it's trade-in. I mean, a big part of my used business is trade-ins because the drummers cannot. There's a good example behind you. There's a gigantic Gretsch kit.
We'll go look at that.
Yeah.
We'll go look at that first.
And it's, if you want a new drum kit and you only have a small basement practice space, you got to get rid of that old drum kit, right? So it helps. I see used drums, not to devalue them or anything, but I see them as coupons. Right? Here's my drum coupon. Bring it in, and I get a couple $100 off my new drum set by bringing in this big coupon.
I've never heard it that way, but that kind of makes sense.
So that's because sometimes I'll get really, you'll get starter kits that, very hard to sell that I might actually end up donating or something, but I'll give people money for it.
Right.
And that's how the coupon idea came up in my head. But
I'm curious because as I went through your website, say for the snares, for instance, in the vintage snares, there were 71 snares on the website, and there's 64 that are sold. Leaving 7 only that remain. So my question is vintage like the hot item, or is it what?
Vintage is very easy to sell. for sure.
And why is that in your opinion? What is it that people want from the vintage stuff compared to the new stuff?
It's a sound. It's a vibe. It's a lot of it comes from social media. I mean, there's a lot of guys like Carter McLean's a good example.
Okay.
I mean, he mixes it up a lot with new and used stuff, but like, anytime somebody like that posts a kit that they're playing or they're doing a session or they do a track or
then
whatever, it's like, hey, do you have any Ludwig standards? And it's like, so that really fuels the fire.
Okay.
And the way those guys play and the way like some of these guys can do an Instagram video, like they can make amazing recordings and they play amazingly and they're using this gear. So they kind of sell the stuff, but it's so hard to get that when you get it, it's so easy to sell.
Okay.
And I mean, a Superphonic Ludwig snare drum, whatever, from like the 60s all the way to the like 80s is a no-brainer, right?
I will have to say yes to
yes.
that.
I mean, they just sell. New they sell, used they sell.
Although the arm isn't the greatest, I must admit, Ludwig,
right.
but that can be
fixed
all fixed up. Yeah,
Another
exactly.
replacement part that fits perfectly.
So you can
I
fix.
may sell you something after all.
He's trying really hard, people. He's trying really hard. But that was my thing, because I mean, there's some really cool stuff here, and that was my question. Is that I know vintage has been hot for a decade or whatever it's been, but I'm always fascinated, especially from a drum shop owner, as to if you have any insight as to why. But then, as you're saying, like it's because people are using them.
People use it
on gigs, and then people are like, "Oh, I want that. I want that sound." And
I mean, vintage drums are interesting because they don't have the value. Like sometimes it seems expensive, but if you look at vintage guitars, vintage guitars are they sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any drums that sell for that. A standard vintage drum that is whatever, like even some of these Black Beauties. I mean, they're a few $1,000s. They're not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas gold top Les Pauls or Stratocasters, right?
Yeah.
It's like great, which nobody used of any fame, right?
I'd be afraid to take it on a gig, honestly. But
Yeah. So it's relatively affordable, and it can actually be cheaper than buying a new kit. Like you can get I sold a vintage Ludwig kit yesterday.
Okay.
It was less than $1,500. You can't buy a new kit from Ludwig.
That's true.
That's made in USA.
That's true.
For it's double that at least.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's so true.
They're affordable, and I think it's the vibe.
All right, Dave, you're ready to show us your shop.
Okay, so, when you come in, this is my cache, so you can see it right from the beginning. So we have my nice presentation of 20s Ludwigs, 20s, early 30s. So there's this gold one, the second one in is a Ludwig gold, so it was supposed to look like real gold at one point. Next one is your classic Black Beauty. There's a stipple gold next to it, requiring some cleaning. And then there's a work in progress Black Beauty to the right of that one.
The shell right there.
Yeah. It's a whole drum. I just
haven't
had a chance to kind of put it back together.
And you do have something that caught my eye you were talking about.
Oh.
Which, if you don't mind if I go in the back there.
No, go for it. Yeah.
Which is basically the master himself.
Yeah.
Just trying to get a shot of that without me being into the shot.
It's his autograph right there. It's real on the back of a dated receipt from 1971.
So did you actually meet Buddy?
No, I never. I did see him once. I was lucky enough to see him at Barrymore's just down the street.
Okay.
But I got that from a customer. He saw I had the picture and he gave me the autograph.
That's
which
awesome.
was very nice. And there's Ringo.
Oh. Good old Ringo.
Not a current price list of Zildjian cymbals there.
That's cool. That's some nice stuff.
Yeah. And then if we continue with the vintage, these are Slingerlands here. So that was Ludwig over there. These are basically Radio Kings. This is, if anybody wants, this is the most not impressive looking Slingerland of the pile of them here, but that is the rarest one right there.
And that is a?
That's a Slingerland Radio King.
Radio King.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's a brass shell, nickel over brass.
Very nice.
Everybody wanted the Gene Krupa drums, and the wood ones are the ones I sold.
These are Gene Cooper ones?
Well, this one is essentially,
Very nice.
And then if you Speedfire.
This is the one in the middle?
The odd-shaped bass drum. What is that? 5 concert toms up there. There's a 20-inch floor tom and a snare drum that's attached to the bass drum too. So just pick it up and go. The one to the right is a staccato. That's the first one everybody sees when they come in the store and they go, "Oh, what is that?"
Now talk to me quickly. The idea on the staccato was to have it
It's just so it projects forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So it makes very loud concert toms.
Ah,
That's
I
what
see.
it is. There's
Right.
a North, which is sort of the same idea. White North drums, they're basically big kind of funnels that point out and they project the sound. But, like if you're the bass player, you basically hear the rack toms and the floor tom. If you're the guitar player, you hear the 10 and the 8 and 10-inch tom. So, I don't understand why they needed to make drums that were loud when they had PAs back then that were gigantic.
And quickly, you were talking. Sorry to make you repeat, but you were talking about the middle kit, which is a Vox.
That's a Trixon.
Trixon.
Yeah, Trixon was the company in the U.S. They were branded as Vox at one point. That one's actually still a Trixon branded kit.
Very nice.
Elliptical bass drum with like 5 concert toms, 20-inch floor tom, and there's a snare up there too.
Very nice. And are these for sale, Dave?
No.
Okay, these are just for show.
I have always said I will sell the staccato drum, but you have to pay me enough to get up on a ladder and bring it down. So, I don't know what that is. That could be different every day.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah.
You were saying you had a Gretsch kit in the interview. Or is it really back there?
Oh, this one, yes. Oh, yeah, this is the big one. So that's a common sort of, trade-in that we were talking about. Like if you need a new drum kit and you've got this at home, you need to get rid of it because you don't have space for 2 of them. Generally. Yeah. That one came in road cases too, like flight cases. Which
Really?
gigantic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a nice color. It's a really nice color.
Yeah. Turquoisey. It's a homemade finish. Yeah, that's like your real typical 80s
Yeah.
sort of Gretsch setup.
It's a nice color. There you go.
Oh, so this is the part of the store back here. People love this part of the store.
Okay.
This is like, you're either going to love this or you're going to hate it when you're watching this as a drummer, but this part of the store I cannot get rid of, but I have to hide it away.
Oh my God.
Because people love this stuff and they'll dig through it for hours looking for things. I mean,
Look at that.
there's good stuff in there.
Look at that.
But and this is a small selection what I have. I just keep refilling it all the time.
So if you're missing some hardware or hardware parts.
Yeah, or you're trying to build. People come out from these bins with piles of stuff, and they've created this monster. They go, "This is exactly what I need."
Some old Pearl stuff.
See, there's cool. There's a little Sonar snare stand here.
Okay.
Like there's a Speed
Some
King,
Speed King.
right? That's cool. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I can't ever get rid of it. People think I've sold out if I get rid of this stuff.
I see.
You know what I mean?
You become a regular store.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I have to keep it, but I have to tuck it away somewhere.
I see. Let's talk about the new stuff. So
Yep.
you say that your business is also new stuff.
Yep.
What are people looking in for the new stuff? Is it mostly cymbals? Is it mostly?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about how drums have changed, I mean, it used to be big drum sets,
Right.
crash ride, hi-hats, China,
A big
and a
old
splash.
12,
Right.
13, 16,
Yeah.
22, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Yeah.
Now it's like drum sets that may not even have any toms. It might be kick, snare, hi-hats, and cymbals everywhere.
Right.
And cymbals stacked all over the place.
Yeah,
and,
the stacks and-
there's no ride cymbal anymore, like a pingy rock ride.
Right.
You know, like everybody had this ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
pingy rock
yeah,
ride.
I had a B8 back in the day
Right?
that did exactly that, yeah.
And it's like now that sound has been replaced by the stacked sound, and that's your kind of
Go-to.
like staccato-y sort of
Yeah.
rhythm sound. And then everything else, like crashes, are gigantic, and they just go
Because they want
swish,
more,
swish,
of a,
swish.
more of a wash.
Yeah.
Less of an attack.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, that's really that sort of thing has changed a lot. Like I don't carry a cymbal that's smaller than like I'll have to think if I'm going to order in a 16-inch cymbal.
Really?
Yeah.
I like 16, especially for a studio, because you don't want that big 18-19. You know, if you're in a 10 by 10 thing, and you're practicing with your buddies or you're recording, you don't want it to like. That's my personal preference, but to wash forever. But I imagine for live, I guess it's
for live and just. I mean, again, it's the whole. You know, what people like. There aren't magazines anymore, but there's just constant stream of information from people,
Facebook
drummers, and that's what other guys are using. And I mean, I did do a clinic with Ray Luzier a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
That was probably 6 years ago. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, but it was really interesting because that was kind of the point where all these cymbals, dark washy cymbals and trashy stuff, and it's like, you know, when you do a clinic with somebody, like Sabian sends him his cymbals, and they say, well, you can buy them to resell, and you know, it's like, why wouldn't I do that? So I do that, but it was like medium hi-hats, 15s, rock rides, rock crashes, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting because this guy is a super successful drummer in huge bands, and he's not playing anything that is like what is popular now. That was a little bit eye-opening, I thought, as much as interesting, but you know, there are trends, but there's, you know.
And for the new stuff, you kind of follow the trends. You follow basically
what people are asking for,
right?
And, you know, you have to kind of sort of go with what the cymbal companies are producing and what they're pushing.
Right. It does change
for the new stuff. It does change, and that's if they're focusing on that, then you better be ordering it because they're probably not going to get necessarily what they're not focusing on. But
meaning that's
like their production capacity is only so big. I mean, these companies are they're big companies in the drum world, but they're not big companies in the company sense. You know,
they're nowhere near Microsoft or all that stuff.
They, you know, they got the limitations.
Right.
I mean, Sabian cymbal, for example. I mean, they have their HHX complex stuff, which came out just before the pandemic, and it's so popular. Yeah, and it's really great stuff. So,
it is actually. I actually have one, and it's a good cymbal.
People and you know, so I kind of follow that lead with that stuff, but generally it's just whatever customers are looking for.
Okay. Any of the new stuff that you like, are drums better now that they used to be for the new stuff, in your opinion?
Yes. Quality control is way better.
I have a feeling that basically, you know, my $300, $400 Westbury, where it was, compared to the kits that are coming out today, I think the kits that are coming out today are of better quality.
I don't think that kit has changed very much.
Okay.
It's just gone up to $600.
No, I know, but say in terms of like big kits of stuff today.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you start to get into around if you like Pearl Export, Yamaha Stage Custom, that sort of stuff is significantly better than it used to be. I think. Yeah. But when you get into higher level stuff, it's a lot better. I mean, but it's mainly the hardware. I mean, drum shells are sort of drum shells.
That is true.
But you know, the refinements they've done. I mean, if you just look at like DW videos and John Good and all the different things he does to draw. I mean, is obsessive about it, and it's, you know, it shows in their products that there's all these things. I mean, some of it drives people crazy, like the fine-tuned tension rods and stuff, which you can only use with them. They're true pitch stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of attention to detail that I don't think people thought about before.
Right.
Like, you know, if you get kits from the early 70s and you use the hardware that came with those drum kits and the drums fall over, you know, that's what people dealt with, and the companies didn't fix it because they just thought, well, this is how we make it. We don't have to. Nobody's really saying. You know, everybody just got used to fixing it up. Yeah.
we had Antoine Barry from the Genesis tribute musical box. Yeah. And he's saying he's using the stuff from back in the day.
Right.
Because they have to use it to be authentic. And he says, I'm fixing that stuff constantly because it's this thin, it's just sitting flat, it's not double braced, it's, you know.
And the drums move all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to really be committed
to use that stuff.
To use that stuff for sure. But it is fun too, right? And it also says a lot about what is important, like to make there's a lot of great music made on very inferior stuff compared to what they make today.
You're right, that's true.
I mean, my best example is that I can think of to see the change, especially of drum heads, is if you listen to Buddy Rich. Just watch videos from him from the 40s right through to the 70s, even later until he was amazing the whole time. But the sound of his drums,
they're good.
He really plays a certain way, but especially when you see the switch from calf skin to plastic heads, it's really amazing. You can his technique really sounds different.
Yeah.
You can hear the difference between the drum heads. The old heads, the old drums are kind of mushy. And then the new drums that get all crisp and clean. It's really interesting to see.
Especially
there's nobody else that can demonstrate that other than him, really.
Yeah, especially snare stuff back in the days. No, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
No, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Besides drum stuff, there's of course percussion. There's drum books. I still see a
few drum books.
Around, which I'm pleased to see, because that was my go-to back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
Just to learn something. So besides the drum and the cymbals, what else do you sell a lot here?
Well, drum cymbals, drum sticks, and drum heads. Lots of that stuff. Hardware is
very big. Yeah.
Yeah. Hardware. People love buying new hardware. Drum thrones.
Really?
It's crazy, and you just can't get them too.
It's like something that's out of
it's really hard. That's either a supply chain issue or whatever. But it's really hard to get drum thrones.
Really?
And everybody wants a good drum throne, because I think a lot of people were sitting down behind their drums and playing, and it used to be the last thing you bought was a good drum throne, because you didn't want to spend any money on that thing you just sit on, right? But now people just really like good drum thrones, because they sit down for a couple hours at a time and play. And if you're sort of old enough to be a professional that works in an office or something, you've been sold on the older the ergonomics of the chairs and the desks and stuff, and it would translate. I mean, that's all I can think, is it's just kind of translating down from that professional. It's you need to sit on something good.
Yeah, that, and if your drum stool is doing this while you're drumming, it's not the
because people are so technical now that you really need that good bass. If you're good double pedal or whatever, you're getting a lot of people are very technical these days and really working on it, and you really need good stuff. You need a good foundation, or you just hurt your back.
See that, kids?
Yeah,
drum stools are important.
Drum stools are important, and posture is probably very important. And you can't get it without a drum throne.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
cool. Let's move on to basically, you were selling kits quickly. If a beginner comes, wants a drum kit from you, what do you recommend?
I always recommend it depends on the situation. I mean, a lot of times it's a tough question, because if you're a young kid, when we started, if we were 10 or 11 years old, and your parents were buying a drum set, you just buy the $500-$600 starter complete package. It's way better than I had when I was a kid. They do have their weaknesses, and the cymbals aren't great, but it's a drum set to sit down and play and work on, and it's an acoustic drum set. And if you need to make it quiet, just put towels on it. Don't buy rubber practice pads. Anyway, but it's so I always recommend that. But electronic drum kits have come a long way, and with over the past couple of years, it's really, everybody's at home, somebody learning to play drums on acoustic drums. It's it's probably 80% of the time it's not going to work. Because everybody lives in families are big and everybody's working at home. So electronic kits, Roland have good starter kit, which is what I sell.
They've come massively from our day.
But there really is nothing like an acoustic drum kit. And a lot of young kids, they seem to want real drums when they're coming in looking for drums.
That's my question.
So it's interesting. The parents always ask about the electronic kits, but the kids want the real drums. And depending on their teachers, most teachers will say, if you can practice on a real drum set, get a real drum set.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you can kind of cheat a bit, I think, with the electronics in terms of like dynamics and how you hit it and such
you
sort of thing.
really, yeah. I always say, I used to always say. I mean, I don't know anymore because I have so little exposure to real musicians coming in on a regular basis to see how they play. But it's it used to be if you learned to play an electric drum kit and you went to a real drum kit, you sound like a disaster.
Mm-mm.
But if you learn to play on a real
kit.
drum kit and go to an electronic kit, you're going to sound really amazing.
Yeah. Because you're not sort of depending on the brain.
That's right. I mean, you can
make
hit
the-
all over the electronic kit and it's going to sound the same.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
You hit a
but
rim on an acoustic kit.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like a rim.
But I think the more interesting thing for me is I find a lot of people starting in their 20s
Oh,
later.
interesting.
Whereas when we were younger, you were kids, you started. And I think a lot of it is because they kind of wanted to play music and they like music, but because you have so many different interests when you're young now, that music is sort of like, and especially drums is probably like, that's way down the list of the thing parents are going to go for.
Except for, yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
and so I find it interesting that a lot of people start in their 20s and they start taking lessons, and I've seen that a lot recently as we've started to open up again. A lot of younger kids, well, I call them kids, but they're in their 20s. They're maybe finished high
Kids to
school
us,
and they're
yes.
living on their own, and they
yeah.
want something to do, and they're taking drum lessons, and I assume other lessons. And it just starts later. But I think they're a little more committed because they've always wanted to do it.
Right. There's more of that hunger to have it.
I really want to do this.
It's not just the flavor of the month or sort of thing.
And they'll form bands, like they'll take a few lessons and their friends are playing other instruments and they're forming bands. And I think it's kind of good and healthy. You don't see it because there's nowhere to play right now.
Right.
Yeah. But
Well, that's good to hear because that's one of the questions I had, which is pop music is so. I mean, back of our day, I keep saying we keep talking like we're like some of these 90-year-old people, but there was more drums when we started in pop music than there is, say, for today.
Right.
So that's why I was curious to know about the beginners. If there's still a want and a need from people to play drums, even though we don't necessarily hear them as much on radio. On that sort of thing.
I mean, the whole commercial music world is very different from the
music scene.
There's always kind of bands forming, and they're always bands. They're always rock band. Like they're
That's true.
In some form or another. They might have the kind of synth flavor of the, like 10 years ago, everybody had a micro chord thing, right? Like
the kind of indie, indie stuff. Yeah.
So there's always there's the indie sort of rock scene, which I think is always kind of maybe going to be there as long as people play guitars and drums and instruments, because it's a super satisfying thing to get together with 3 or 4 people. I mean, when I was a kid, like we could barely play our instruments, but we all got together and we played along songs and we made up songs, and it was like, that was awesome. Right?
I know.
And I think that feeling still exists. So as long as you can kind of find at least 2 or 3 people to play with and a place to do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, that's good to know that there's still a need, a want from beginners and people coming in to get drums.
I don't know who studies this sort of stuff, but I do find it interesting that it happens at this point in life where you've moved out. As opposed to, whatever you played soccer and went swimming and
did the whole sports stuff,
right?
And then, Well, I can vouch for that too, because for some reason in this area, anyways, it's a lot of people that are retired actually, that are wanting always to play drums, but now they're retired and they're like, well, what am I going to do by my retirement? And they say, oh, well, I'll play drums because I always wanted to, but couldn't, was too busy, that sort of thing. So I think there's that also. There
is that too.
There's that too. That's
I noticed that first, and then I started noticing this.
The younger too.
So
cool. And quickly on the end of selling kits, then we'll move on to the services. If somebody comes in, more of a professional, he wants a very specific. Are you also that type of guy to come in and say, I want that specific sort of 13-inch tom or that sort of snare to do for
a lot of custom order stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, most of the bigger brands, it's all special order anyway. So I mean, you wait a while for it, but most people are when they're ready to order something, they're ready, and they'll just wait for it to come in. So that's still a thing. Very big thing.
That's cool. Because I remember my kit back in the day, I wanted specific sizes.
Right.
But that's still a thing.
It is still a thing.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very much a thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Good to know.
Yeah.
We're healthy. We're
Yes.
doing
But they're
good.
going to. I don't know what your custom size. Hopefully they weren't like 12 by 12 toms and 10 by 10. So remember?
Well, yeah. This isn't just a side note, but yes, it was kind of one of those pearl kits from back in the day, the BRX.
Oh, right.
And yeah, it is the 16 by 16 to 14 by 14, and it is a massive kit, but I love it.
Now, thankfully, they're smaller and easier to set up. But
yeah. I'm moving towards that too, but I still love it.
All right, so this is our cymbal land. More old drums for just because that's a good place to put them.
As any.
Yep. So cymbals,
This
Zildjian.
is the new stuff.
Yeah, this is all new stuff. So, vinyl, Feisty, Zildjians, the Sabians are up front. Lots of box sets, those are very popular.
Yep.
Yeah. There's dream cymbals here also. The stock really comes and goes with cymbals. That's an old K. Yeah.
Very nice. Now, I am going to ask you, because I am a Pearl fan,
Yeah.
I am going to ask you about that Pearl fiberglass.
Yes. Oh, yeah, Pearl fiberglass. Well, it says right here, fiberglass shell. Oh, I had the head off just earlier. But you can see it's a very nice fiberglass shell. And there's sort of like the Vista Light sort of vibey sound.
So a lot of
really
attack.
cool color.
Okay.
This is, when we got this kit in, we were looking up videos, and I think Art Blakey played this finish.
Really?
Because he played Pearl in this era, right?
Okay.
So it's really cool to see Art Blakey playing the Pearl.
It's the first time I ever see that white fiberglass.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, you see a lot more of the wood fiberglass, which is really, really heavy, but this is just like the
fiberglass. That's
just
it.
the fiber.
This one's really popping.
Oh yeah,
And it's in good
Really
shape.
cool.
I mean, there's
Yeah, it's not too bad.
barely any of the scuffs.
I mean, this is like 50-year-old drum set.
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
point.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. Well, there's a stack of Ludwig snares. These are all Black Beauties.
Oh God.
They are very popular. Wow. And I can't get enough of them. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it right there.
There you go.
Ludwig Black Beauty.
Good old Black Beauty.
See what we call the wall of DW. with that,
I will try to get the
topped
shot.
off with Gretsch.
Look at that. And these mostly collectors, or?
Yeah, pretty much all collectors. I mean, I tried to, at one point, I wanted to get all the different sort of shells they made. So I do this, what they call the 333. This is a purple core. This is a Santa Monica, which is like their original sort of shell they used to make.
This one here, or the sunburst
no,
one.
the
sunburst
faded
one.
one is the Santa Monica shell.
Okay.
And then the silver stuff. I had a whole shell bank of the silver glass stuff. So people can pick and choose, but I got...
And the gong.
Oh yeah.
Look at this.
I call this the Instagram kit because it's like the drum kits those guys play on Instagram, So this is the problem with the pandemic and the supply chain issues is I would set this drum set up and I'd have all the hardware, everything on it and cymbals, and then I'd have to sell it all because I didn't have enough of it. I just got a shipment in, but we haven't put it back together yet.
And
It looks
has
really impressive.
Yeah, it
with
is sort of a
cymbals.
matte finish to it,
Yep. Yeah, this is cherry, this shell. Yeah.
and sort of a suspended bass drum there.
Big gong drum.
Yeah.
This is everything you want and more. I don't know what to do with it.
It's not a disease, people. They're just passionate about stuff. I am curious to know more about this big
yeah.
Ludwig one in the back.
That's a Ludwig Octoplus. So that kit's a late 70s. So the Octoplus was basically 8 concert toms. So it starts at 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's 8 concert toms.
Right
and then
there.
it's double bass
Yep.
and then an 18-inch floor tom.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had that set up for a while in the middle of the store. I actually rented it to a guy, and he did a video with it with his band, which I haven't seen the video yet. So
so there you go.
Me.
Have to check that
it
out.
looked really amazing because he set it up and it was on a stage, and yeah, it was really cool.
So for anyone playing cafes and jazz clubs, there you go.
Yeah,
This is what you need. That's crazy. It's a beautiful color though. A bit of a mark at the bottom, but very nice. Cool.
White Cortex.
And so this is kind of the Ludwig.
Yeah.
Corner?
That came out last year. They reissued the
Reissued
Citrus Mod,
Okay.
which we were sort of talking about earlier.
So these are new.
Yep. Yeah, Ludwig, they're it's the vintage vibe that
So they're
sells
going
really
for.
well.
Yeah, for them, yeah.
Can't get enough.
And the Oddity.
Right.
Again.
Well, that's the
But
reissue.
that's the new one.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So again, like you were explaining, is that one side of the kit is actually for one sound, and this side is for sort of a bigger sound.
Yeah,
of
so
the
you
drum
can play
set.
your cocktail music after dinner or during dinner, and then after, when everybody wants to dance, you got your big 20-inch bass drum. That was reissued, and it's like, if you know Sakai drums, they're kind of, they looked after the production of this set. But
Okay.
it's a Chinese drum set.
Oh, I see.
But it's like, I don't know why they even thought they would do it. Like, it just seems like a crazy, of all the drums to kind of reissue. It's very funny that they did. I mean, it's amazing they did it,
Yeah.
but it's just so unusual. It's an unusual choice. So you can see, we sort of get it set up as a showroom, and then it becomes I haven't quite figured out how to turn it. It's still half warehousey, but it's a warehouse full of drums basically.
And we're very, very happy to
Yeah.
be here and invited.
Right.
I don't want to leave. Want to try everything. Interesting. Very nice, Dave. Very,
Yeah.
very nice. Thank you so much. Let's talk about the services besides selling stuff
Yep.
and recommending stuff. You do cymbal cleaning.
We have a machine for cymbal cleaning.
Cymbal cleaning.
Yeah.
This fascinates me because it was big back in the day, and
Yeah.
now it's back. I thought people wanted to like the dirtiest sound, but I guess
Yeah, there are people that like we don't do a ton of it. We'll sometimes clean stuff in the store just for fun to see if it changes the sound of it.
okay.
Yeah, and it does. If it's the right cymbal, if it's a thin enough cymbal, especially a crash, and it's been patinaed or tarnished for like 30 years,
Right.
and we clean it, it certainly changes the sound of it. So
Really nice.
it does change the sound.
Cool.
A little more subtle on things like hi-hats and
Okay.
heavier rides, but
Right.
yeah, but it does change it. So, but yeah, people like dirty, rustic looking stuff now.
Yeah, I
right?
thought it was sort of where it's going,
Yeah.
but it's interesting that it's still
Yeah.
something that people want.
People still want it. So,
And of course, drum repair. What's the most common repair? What do you normally do?
most common repair is probably either replacing floor tom like brackets that have broken, or inserts. And it's usually on cheaper drums or any Japanese drum from the 80s and earlier. Like
Okay.
they used really crappy metal on some of that stuff.
Right, more
So
the white,
the white sort of metal. Yeah.
yeah.
But lugs break and or the insert. An insert repair is the best. Like if you have a drum shop and you don't repair stuff, if somebody comes and just have a bunch of inserts, you fix where the tension rod goes into the lug.
Yeah. And
Because they come in thinking they have to replace a whole part of their drum, and you can, like, in 5 minutes you can change a little 25-cent insert, and it's like you're a hero.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one where basically the strip, it's been stripped and then it's,
stripped inside. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a little thing that pops out. It's
Okay.
held in by a spring. So.
Have you ever had something that comes in and you're like, please repair this, and you're like, ooh, I can't do this, it's too difficult.
Not so. The hardest part are things like congas. There's some sitting over there trying to find heads because they're not standard.
The conga itself doesn't have the same.
They're all different. Yeah, bongos and congas. Other than things that are just physically broken, and drums are. Yeah. I haven't really. Cymbals you can't repair. We'll cut them out for people or whatever. But drums, I mean, unless it's completely trash, there's usually a way to fix it. Yeah, sometimes they're not pretty, right? But sometimes you just need to get going. So it's whatever.
Get going in
get the drum. Get the drum going again. I don't. It's for my practice kit.
Right,
I just need a new because this one got dropped or whatever.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless it's completely destroyed, then they probably don't too embarrassed to come in with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But normal stuff you can pretty much fix anything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And are you the
I've
one?
got tons of parts.
Okay.
I got 30, 40 years worth of parts.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. So there you go. If you need something.
Yeah, lots of Well, people always call me when I say that. I have lots of parts, and then it's like, oh no, I don't have that part.
I have everything but that one.
I have everything but that part. Yeah.
Sorry.
And the other rule is, if you need 8 of something, don't come in and ask me for 1, because I'll find 1 and I'll never find any more. But if you ask me if I have 8, I'll go, oh look, I got 8, just 8. It's weird. Murphy's Law sort of thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
One example you had was a Leedy Ludwig 6 lug snare. I think from last year.
Yeah.
You rewrapped it.
Yeah.
Cleaned it out from the early 50s. Was that a big job? Is that something that's very common?
Oh, that's I mean, that was that came in rewrapped. So we bought that like that. But we do rewrap stuff.
You do that? Okay.
Yeah. I actually, I don't, you asked me about employees before, and we used to do a lot of stuff in-house.
Yep.
And we had a better shop set up in our other store, even though it was tiny. But we don't quite have that facility here. But I do have a guy that I've known since high school that builds very nice drums. His name's Terry Lorenzio, by the way. And his company, his website's tldrums.com.
Cool.
And so we work very closely with him. So if we need to do bearing edges or drilling, or even he does very nice finishes.
Okay.
And like natural finishes, and he builds drums. So we actually have some drums that he built recently for us, where I use it's a charity drum, so I give $200 to a like a food service.
Okay.
For the the lesser advantaged people.
Sure.
From the sale of the drum. So he built the drums, but it's a Dave's Drum Shop snare drum. So.
I see.
Yeah. So that in a normal world, if I had a drum shop, like he has a nice shop set up and he lives very close, so we, he's not an employee, but he's part of the business.
Part of the business. Oh, that's nice. So that's nice. Yeah. That's really cool.
And we don't have to have sawdust and
exactly
stuff spraying around all over here. So
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool that you're sort of sharing the business with somebody else.
Yeah. So that's
nice.
That's kind of a development there. So.
Nice.
That works out very well.
And basically, besides those 2 services, what else do you offer besides those services of repair and cleaning?
Just the typical stuff you would expect. Like, if you want drum heads changed, your drums, we'll change a drum head. Like if you buy a bunch of drum heads from us, we'll put them on your drums and tune them up for you, no problem.
Cool.
So all of that sort of stuff. Cleaning, cymbals. We'll cut cymbals if they're, they got a little crack in it. And
I was wondering about that, yeah.
I can't afford a cymbal, so we'll just cut out this.
Okay.
That'll last for a while. I mean, if it's like less than a centimeter of crack, makes very little difference on the sound.
Okay.
And
you're saying you sometimes do backlining work. You do rent out to.
We do. Yeah,
shows.
We rent out to the NAC quite a bit when they do.
Very nice.
Especially high end, like a jazz show or something. I mean, you need a Gretsch kit with an 18-inch bass drum, 14-inch floor tom.
Nice.
We'll set you up. And I used to have a lot of vintage kits that I would supply for jazz shows and the jazz fest we had here. But when the pandemic hit, I just sold everything I had that was backline.
Okay.
So I'll have to build it back up again.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was the pandemic for you?
It was fine. It was really weird at the beginning and frightening.
Okay, imagine.
Because you just didn't know what was going to happen. But as soon as the door locked, where I couldn't have people in, my website just exploded. And people could do curbside pickup. And because of my location, which is very convenient, it just took over from my regular store business. So
So the online business, and that's
the online business.
One of the questions I have, the last question I have is yes, you're in Ottawa, but I imagine but the phone rang, and I think you said it was from Calgary.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's really nationwide. I mean, people come to your
nationwide.
website and pick up stuff from.
It's a lot of in Canada. It's a lot of very small towns and places where
that don't have that. Right.
There's no
right.
And I sell a lot of really, the things that I sell that nobody else sells. I sell a lot of that to these places. And just general stuff. I mean, and drum kits.
Okay.
It goes all over the world. I mean,
really?
I sell
Nice.
a lot of stuff to the U.S.
What's the farthest you sold? I'm curious.
Well, the farthest, New Zealand, Australia.
Nice.
But
very nice.
Like Asia, not so much in the past few years, but Japan and.
Nice.
Since I sent a drum set, I sent a couple of drum sets to China. And that was really difficult.
Was it?
Because it's the communication barrier with the customer.
Right.
He knew what he wanted, but the kind of getting it delivered and making sure the addresses are right.
Right.
And all the presentation for the customs.
I imagine it
was a frightening experience because it was also it was a couple of drum sets and they were big boxes and it's expensive to do that, and it's also you just hope it gets there in one piece
because it's shipping containers and
right.
it's a multiple of exactly
so that, and I did ship a double pedal to Russia. Last year, which I don't think they'll ever be able to do that again in the foreseeable future.
Unfortunately,
but that was also complicated. He had a friend here who basically wrote the address for me.
Right.
Because it's, anyway.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's awesome, Dave. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So a couple of last questions. So what are your hopes and dreams? What do you want to do? Hopefully pandemic's over, people coming in.
I really hope all these bands that are, I do have a practice space which I go to every once in a while. And I know there's bands practicing and they all sound really good. So I just hope there's places for them to play.
Exactly.
I just want a music community. I mean, I've grown up in music in Ottawa,
right?
And I know it's really good, and there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of great artists from here.
This is true. Yeah.
And I just want to be able to be part of that. And I think my store existing means there is something here, right? So, and other than that, I'm just happy to do this every day. So I don't really care.
Cool. As long as you can is what you're saying.
That's right. Yeah. And then don't try to explain growth to me. That's all. It's I don't understand it. Yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dave. So,
right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Basically, we're gonna look around the store now.
Yeah. Drums.
And thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
I'm still trying to resist. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to walk out that door.
He just needs a throw up for his 71 Ludwig. Tell him he needs one. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Actually, that's actually what it is that I need because mine is broken. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Dave.
All right.
For being with us, and thank you so much for the 5th season. Hope you enjoyed this interview, and stick around for more Drumfills Kafé for this summer. Have great fun. Stay safe. Enjoy. Go see out some bands. Go see out some shows.
Right.
Enjoy yourself. Play some drums, and come to Dave's Drum Shop if you need anything. He's going to help you out. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Ciao.
Here's the snare we were talking about, where he built.
So this is
with
special.
my friend Terry.
Yeah, this is special. Go ahead and explain.
Yeah. So Terry and I did this last year. We built some drums, and we just ordered some shells and some parts. And my whole concept with these was that I can build a nice drum, and then I'll give $200 from the sale of each one of these drums.
Right.
Goes to it's a local charity. It's called the Mission.
Okay.
And they have a food truck that goes down to different communities and serves people food. And so that was my concept. So that's Terry, who does a lot of our drum work for us now.
And show us the drum.
Built these. Yeah. This is a Babinga shell.
And it has Dave's
It's got my logo on it.
logo on it. Very nice.
Carved out of wood.
And how much are these selling for?
These are about $800, I think.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Domingo's a good
$8.99. Sorry. Yeah. But 200 of that is at charity.
is that charity.
Yeah. And then that's the Radio King snare you were talking about.
Yes.
The Cloud Badge marching drum.
So talk to me quickly about that one.
Yeah, that just came from I have a customer who brings me a lot of. He travels around a lot and he just buys stuff all over the place, and he brought that in. So we don't see like marching drums that old here very often.
No,
there was
exactly.
there was no marching bands.
No, exactly.
Around.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's a cool one. That's a Arnie. That's a Gretsch. A Lang Gladstone. So if you know what a Gretsch Gladstone or a Gladstone snare drum, Billy Gladstone made these drums. And Arnie Lang, who passed away just last year, had made that drum for me, and I got it from him at the Chicago Vintage Show prior to COVID.
Okay.
And it's got my store name on it on the little gold badge there, which is really cool. I'm pretty happy to own that drum. It's funny because when I ordered it from him, I didn't order it as gold hardware.
Okay.
I just ordered a black drum with chrome hardware because I just wanted, and then
And it came gold.
It's like it has gold plating. It's crazy. So anyway, I like it now that I have it. But
What is this in the back? That's
this one,
interesting.
this is awesome. This is the catalog, the front of the Slingerland catalog in like the late 40s, and it's a fairly unique kit because it's post-war, but during the war they didn't really produce any drums. They made a different drum called a Rolling Bomber, which had wooden hoops on it, and they couldn't. All the lugs were wooden during the war. When the war was over, they were allowed to make drums.
Okay, right.
And this drum set was just post-war, and it's got wood hoops on it because they didn't have metal hoops. They could only use metal parts they had in stock.
Right.
Because there was they couldn't.
Look at the detail on
Yeah.
those
I
lugs.
know they're beautiful, right?
That is Art
Yeah.
Deco stuff. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
So I have somewhere in my papers, I have it's not the original receipt, but from 1947, I have the insurance certificate
Okay.
from the original owner. I bought this from a guy who bought it from the estate, so
Wow.
I'm the third owner of that drum set.
And the muffling at the front.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
that's your typical clamp-on vintage muffler. Yeah,
Muffler.
those things, people really like those things.
And look at the bass drum
yeah, the
pedal.
spurs. Oh, the pedal, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, that's a cool drum set.
Very nice. I would, yeah, that would be one I wouldn't touch, sort of thing. I'd
Yeah.
leave it there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a keeper for sure.
Yeah.
And that's got its matching Radio King snare.
Oh, for this.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is. I'm in Candyland. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
Look at the
drum set.
work on the strainer, on the
Yeah.
arm. Very nice.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have that one.
Very nice.
Yeah, and that's in the 20s,
Ah.
30s. You could get painted drum heads, and this is a Ludwig bass drum, but that's actually a Leedy drum head. So that was like they had artists, and they had like 6 or 8 different designs you can
That's
choose,
cool.
and that was so they had in-house artists that would paint the drum heads.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So much stuff. Look at all
Yeah.
this.
There's the big fat snare drum stuff we talked about, all on the wall there.
Oh, this stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Sound changers.
Sound changer for the snare. So if you're interested, right there. Yep. Oh, and I can see the different gaps
Yeah.
for each. Yep.
Tambourine jingles.
Yep. And there's an old wood.
Yeah.
Ludwig there.
That's a World War II era drum where they couldn't use any metal, so they were limited to like whatever 5 or 10% metal on anything that wasn't military related.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And look at the snares underneath.
Oh.
All right. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. It's been great.
So thank you so much, Dave. So again, where are you at and where can people find you?
Well, on the web, davesdrumshop.com. Super simple, or just search for Dave's Drums. Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And if you're in Ottawa, 270 Catherine Street, across from the old Greyhound station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dave.
All right.
I'm going to have to leave now.
Okay. Get out of here.
Take care, guys. Ciao.